Hello and welcome to my chair by the fire. This evening I'm going to work on one of my crazy patch wrap squares, and I am working on or practicing making snowdrops. I use the skirt to practice stitches and just to slow stitch in the evening. So I'm starting with a herringbone stitch. So you come up from the back of your work and you take a wide swath going whatever interval you want across your stitch. So you're bringing your yarn over your last stitch, taking a little bite out of your fabric and coming above the thread. Now I lay my yarn across to see where I want to take my next bite, and then I take my bite. This one you're taking over top of the thread. Again, you're taking, this one is under, you'll see me pass the thread under the needle. I make the mistake and then I realize I don't realize it. No, I don't realize and I don't correct it. So that's not good. Maybe I just got my okay. The thread is over top. And here where you see I did that one wrong. And this one I'm going to do correctly, which is taking the needle up and over the thread. Then you lay it down. Sorry about that error. And here you come. You take your bite on top your thread, and here you're going to take it over your thread. I'm probably not describing this correctly, but you can see what I'm doing here. So I take my bite out of my fabric and my needle comes up over top of my thread, and the next one I lay it down to see where I want it. And this one here I have my thread, that's right, my needle, the thread is under my needle. That first stitch I took too large, and so I take it smaller there. And you can just see it's a pattern of going of the herringbone is moving, getting the thread going the right way, which of course I don't always do. Going around the corner. So this wrap skirt I used pinking shears and pinked around each of the pieces of fabric, and then I whip stitched them down using just regular sewing thread. And now I'm going back and just embellishing the squares. It'll either be a beautiful skirt that I wear when we're going out, or it'll be my gardening skirt. The trick with the herringbone is to space the width of the ribbon. So now I've gone all the way around, and now I'm going to use a lazy daisy stitch or a closed chain stitch to make a 5-petaled flower. My stitching isn't perfect. I don't claim to be a teacher. These videos are getting viewed and seem to be what people are wanting to watch, so I'm taking you with me on some of the stitching that I'm doing. In the winter time, it's warm to sit by the fire, spend some quiet time stitching My craft room is quite cold, so I'm not working on paper crafting right now. All of the fabrics used in my crazy patch wrap skirt are pieces of fabric that would have ended up in recycle, and some are new pieces of fabric, and others are pieces of fabric that I've thrifted. Sorry about that. Now I'm going back, having gone all the way around the block, and I am adding colonial knots in pink thread to the center of each of the lazy daisies. One of the things that I did want to say that as I was finishing going all the way around, I realized that it would have been really nice to have done a 3-petaled flower, just so it was thinner, the border was thinner. I'll do that at some point, I'm sure, going on. So the colonial knot, this next flower, you're not going to see it very well as it goes outside of the camera. But a colonial knot is one of the knots that I use a lot. That and the French knot, I'll use them both in this video. So with the colonial knot, you come up in the center of the flower you want to work in. You bring your thread, your needle, under the thread, and then you bring it over the thread. I'm using a felt board under my work, and that's what I put my knots down into. Just is easier for me. So again, you come up in the center of your knot. You wrap your needle You go under your thread and wrap it around your needle to the right, and then you wrap over top of the needle. So now I'm going to add French knots to represent leaves. The herringbone stitch lends itself nicely to being used as an arbor when you're doing a slow stitch picture or going around a block. So it is just a 2 wrap and a stitch down. Come up in the center of where you want to work. Wrap the thread around the needle twice. And go back down. Now I'm going to make snowdrops, and to do this I'm going to use a double lazy daisy stitch or an open chain. So I'm making my first open chain. I'll anchor it down. And then I'm going to make a second chain right on top, but just a little bit larger. I'll anchor this stitch down. Use your fingers and your needle to adjust where the stitch is. And then I will go back in the very center and make a single long stitch to fill in the center of that little petal. I don't show it on the video that I've made for you, but at the end of each one of these flowers, I put a yellow French knot. So then I do the so Snowdrop has three major petals that I'm going to show. So I'm going to do the other side petal, and then the center petal will be the last one, and it's done exactly the same way. this is where I end the video for you. As you can see, I will post a picture at the end here of the completed project. I hope you've enjoyed stitching along with me tonight. If you have, leave a comment. Thank you very much and have a very good evening.